Hi, Andrea. Hi, Andrea. It's Margie. How are you?
Hi, Margie. I'm great. Thanks. How's it going with you?
It's really good. It's going to be really hot the next few days. So I was up early, out working in the plants and stuff. So it was really fun getting it done soon. And later I'll be laying in the pool at the garden and hanging out,
All right. Well, have a
grilling
good time
some
for me.
veggies. Yeah. Um, So today we're speaking with Andrea Bryant from Awaken Astrology. I'm so excited about this new moon. I'm really loving this process, and it really has helped me personally just with the month and discerning between my stuff, the collective energies and the planetary energies, and how we can work with that, right, as it relates to
Right.
ourselves. Yeah. So,
Right. With the
yeah.
new moon, we can set the intention for what energies, which aspects of the energies we want to work with.
Perfect. So let's get started.
All right. Okay. Well, wow. There are so many energies coming in for us in this new moon that it took me a while to focus on what was really important, which is so Gemini, because focus can be tough with Gemini energy. Gemini is all about being everywhere at once. A Gemini mind is adaptable and quick and can assess all things all at the same time. Um, I I actually have a Gemini friend, and sometimes after a party, we'll chat about our experiences. And let me tell you, she doesn't miss a thing. I'll get quite the education on what I missed at the party. And sometimes I feel like, was I at the same party? How did she pick up on all that? But it's her Gemini. It's her Gemini mind. And she knows it. She laughs about it. But it's quite a talent
Yeah.
to be able to be assessing all things at the same time. And so, I like to give you a little bit of the story of the symbols because it gives greater understanding. And Gemini's symbol is the twins, and it comes from Greek mythology and the story of Pollux and Castor. And they were the twins. They had one dad who was Zeus and another one who was a king. So they had different dads, which is always interesting in Greek mythology. And they were young and handsome and curious and daring. And they took part in many adventures together, one of them being Jason and the Argonauts. I'm not sure. That's a really interesting story if anyone ever wants to look that up. But they covered a myriad of encounters in their quest for experience and knowledge. So it's all about experience and knowledge. Geminis have a thirst for mental stimulation, and they thrive on experiences with new people and new places and new activities. And their ruler is Mercury, planet of the mind. And Mercury in our chart indicates how we both receive information and communicate it outward. And a Gemini mind is so versatile and so variable that they are often said to have two minds. So this is really interesting. On the flip side, Gemini can get the bum rap because all this versatility can create a problem for them. They have, with so much information in a Gemini mind, they can cover both sides of any debate and sometimes come off being contradictory. And people will call them indecisive and insincere. And it's really not quite accurate when you look at the full picture. It's just that all this information that they have gathered makes it hard for them to figure out who they authentically are.
That makes
And
sense.
so
Yeah.
do you have Gemini ascendant? Can you
Gemini,
relate to,
I can. I was just going to say, actually, I think my Gemini is in rising. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And even as a young child, and I don't know, not sure how this plays out, just because I, don't really know, but I would want to experience everything. I still have that pattern. I like to know people. I like to attain knowledge. And I like to, I could walk into a restaurant and tell you how many tables were there, how many chairs were there, and where people were sitting and what they were wearing.
That is
like
so
the way,
Gemini.
yeah. And for me, it was just about taking it all in, and probably strategy at some point, right? Also, and how to navigate in that space, right? Wherever I was at, even including now. But then when I started doing my own inner work, like truly diving into my inner work and discerning like what felt really true to me, those patterns of like either too much information or like things that felt contradictory kind of dissipated, if that makes sense. So it was more in alignment, like with my true self, is what I'd say. And so I still have that natural innate thing where I'll go somewhere and could tell you, people crack up with me at work because I know exactly where one thing is, and like always, like, uh-oh, that's gone. Nope, that jump rope should have been over there, or whatever, right? Like there's the pattern that's still there. But when it comes to personal things and information coming in, my natural discernment and ability to know what's really true doesn't get bombarded by all of that information anymore. Does that make sense?
It does, because, and we're going to talk about Venus, the soul ruler of Gemini, and how when you connect to Venus, things get a little easier. When you look at the glyph, the symbol for Gemini, it's an 11. I call them two pillars. Yeah. And then there's a lintel over the, I call it a doorway, and then there's a lintel over the top of the doorway and a threshold in the bottom. And so in order to get through the doorway, Gemini has to balance all this dualistic information that they've accumulated, over a certain period of time. And so what happens is when you speak to a Gemini, they can be, like I said, they're great debaters because they know they can justify this side. They can turn around. They can justify the other side. They also have a tough time listening to either their higher mind versus their lower mind. So there's all this duality within when Gemini listens to Mercury the mind. But instead, when they focus in on Venus and the vibrations of love and balance, harmony, those are the energies that are perfectly suited to raise Gemini out of mental duality and into a place of self-love within themselves and their own peace and their own harmony. And so Venus becomes this bridge needed to acquire and get to that place of self-love and authenticity. And so that's what you're bringing up right there.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, cool.
Okay, and so yeah. And so with this Gemini new moon, we're getting a lot of busy mind, distraction, uncertainty, and even later in the month, we're going to get confusion. Of course, I'll cover Mercury and Venus during this little month-long journey. Okay, I just want to cover a little background energy or noise that everyone is feeling, but it's just good to air it out and put our intention on some of the missing pieces. First off, we have a few good tug-of-wars going on between our own personal desires and what we could be doing better to better our relationship. So we've got that tug-of-war going on. But before we can even resolve or find a solution to that particular tug-of-war, we're getting distracted by everything that's going on with outside of us, with this breakdown of the power structure and all that media coverage. Mm-hmm. And so this is creating what the astrologers would call like a T-square of energies. So are you sensing, do you sense all this going on?
Yeah, the collective is definitely, and that's what I would call the collective, or like the, how the world is operating, right?
Right.
as you were speaking, that's what kept popping in, is when we recognize not only these planetary shifts, but also, and then understand that that's not separate from us, right? And what's happening in the world, that's where that inner discernment comes in really, really well, so that we don't have to, when we understand ourselves, we can work with that energy directly with us and not get caught up in that, all the madness and the confusion that you're talking about. Because as you speak about the uncertainty and confusion coming in, I'm thinking about all we have to do is watch the news for an hour and you can see how that's playing out, right?
Forget it. But that is out there. That energy is out there, and it's sort of pulling us away from balancing our own individuality and our relationships. Now we've got this third point over here, with them, the media pulling us, and really the focus point to balance all this out is at home. It's home. It's the Cancer energy of home and family and nurturing and bonding with those that we love. So one of the things that we can do to balance things out is spend a little bit more time loving and nurturing our families. And
ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Like I view it as I have a good friend who's, almost 80 and she's by herself, but we got her a dog a couple of years ago. So she has this daily connection with her dog and her yard and her plants. So she does a lot of self-love and nurturing that way, right? And then obviously in sharing relationships, not only with our pets and our friends and family, it doesn't, if you're far away from your family, you can still create that
bonding, family and nurturing. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can, and with yourself and family and pets, and excellent. And that's just one of them. That's going on right now. There's another one, and I'll just bring it up. Number one, that's Mars energy in Gemini, information, right? So there's tons of information out there. And opposite that is Saturn in Sagittarius trying to find the truth. Okay, so we're getting pushed and pulled between our own personal ability to find information or access to information. What is the truth? Then, of course, we've got this third point pulling us because we're actually feeling a bit deceived by the information that we grew up believing. And so that's kind of creating a lousy feeling, a wounded feeling.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that fourth point on where your focus can go and where your energy can flow. And that's about discerning the truth. It's time to weed through all the baloney. And I know it can feel overwhelming, but it's really time to discern the truth in all of this. And so I know you talk a lot about the ability for people to be able to discern the truth.
Yeah. I think as you say that, I'm thinking about, like, if I thought about discerning the truth and like say what's going on in the political system right now, that would feel overwhelming to me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when I started focusing on discerning my truth and what feels real to me, and when that heart connection's there, it's very interesting because it's like the truth is shown to you, and it doesn't even, you don't get caught up in that anymore. It's like, oh, that's just going on over there, and I can feel it in the collective, but what I'm in alignment with is not that, is my truth, and that may be bogus, right?
No,
whatever that is. Yeah. But
it's what's happening in your daily life, right?
That's
all
right.
you can control is what's happening in your daily
That's
life.
Right.
So,
and then that grows from there. Once we're in our truth and can discern that, and we raise our consciousness and vibratory rate, it's interesting. You will manifest, and people around you, you'll find more things in alignment with that. It's amazing how that happens. Actually, that you end up finding truth everywhere, and so we don't have to get stuck in being frustrated with all the madness and the lies, right?
Right, and that's what these are. These are outward distractions, but I just wanted to bring them up so that we can, recognize them. They are there. They should not control us or rule us or anything like that. But I like to put it out there just so people know that
also the energies are coming in, so they work with our own energy systems too. It's not just about the collective. We are affected by it. We live in this physical world, so it is definitely, we are affected by it. We just don't have to let us throw us off or lose our heart connection because of it. Right? Is there, I guess, what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. And on an easier note, we talked about Venus being the sole ruler of these Gemini energies coming in. And what's great is that we're working, we've got what's called a grand trine, fire trine, and Venus is part of this trine. And so anyway, she's conjunct Uranus, planet of innovation. And so we're working with these truths that we currently have. We're feeling inspired to be innovative and to move ahead, doing the things we love and let ourselves shine. And so we're working with the truths that affect us, that personally inspire us, and in a direction to make us move forward. And this is all really positive. Mm-hmm. So I want people to know there's also some good inspiration, personal inspiration coming in. And it's with that discerning the truth, like you said, energies propelling them to move forward.
That's beautiful and perfect timing. The universe is so amazing because when we have things to challenge, it also creates the space for our inner growth to be able to walk through that challenge, right? Or work with it. Like, so what a beautiful pairing.
I love it. So I'm just going to do a recap now, starting with the sun and the moon, right, which is the new moon, and they're at 4 degrees in Gemini, and so they're highlighting all this, specifically all this variety, a plethora, a mix of information, and how we communicate it. And so this means we may find ourselves changing our minds quite frequently during the month, maybe even vacillating depending on how we feel or what's best or what's convenient. It also means uncertainty and also not being sure of what we want. So just keep that in mind throughout the month. And Mercury, if we look at, because we're going to look at both Mercury and Venus, and Mercury starts the cycle in the fixed sign of Taurus. So Taurus is that fixed earth, and many of us are going to find a reason to stay fixed on the beliefs we already hold on to and not be willing to expand our understanding of the bigger picture. That's just the energy that's there. There may be a big element of that.
Okay.
And we may find that those people are just fine believing in what they already believe, and we may feel challenged by their lack of wanting to grow. And I know you told me a story, a little bit earlier, but that's just how some people are, and we have to have compassion and understanding for where people are. Now, if we bring in Venus, on the other hand, and remember her energies are going to help us to be more inwardly focused, or we could meditate on these energies because they require us to tap more deeply into ourselves. And Venus is in the energetic sign of Aries, and so she's bringing self-awareness to our own desires and to act on our impulses of love and what we think is beautiful. And she's got this terrific trine alliance with Saturn, which is bringing stability and maturity. And it reminds us that it's not in our best long-term interest to rush in on impulse, but that the best long-term results happen when we align with our authentic inspiration. So rushing in with a false sense of self-empowerment or something like that is only going to lead to confusion and an unsettled, fragmented mind, which can be Gemini's downfall. So really listening to our own impulse and sort of tapping into our own inner alignment and using Saturn's maturity and wisdom to make sure it's truly authentic and aligned with ourselves. So I recommend meditation and journaling. I actually see May 31st, or that window, a few days before and after, as being a wonderful day to take action for yourself and your long-term future. On May 31st, when I look at the chart, we have something called a kite happening, which is a beautiful, easy formation. It just allows magic to happen. Venus is part of this trine, and it will come from the best case scenario will happen when there's this alignment that we talked about between the information that you gathered and aligning it with your own truth, right? So it's that inner alignment. And so that window, I would mark the calendars for the window of May 31st.
Okay.
On June 6th, Venus enters Taurus, and that's the sign that she rules. Excuse me. And so that June 6th is a great day to just get out, enjoy life, be outside, play like a child, and remember that striving for harmony and peace are a great long-term philosophy to live by. So love June 6th as well. On that day, Mercury does move as well. Mercury moves into its own sign of Gemini. And when Mercury moves into its own sign of Gemini, I think we're going to see a lift of people's stubbornness to now moving along with learning and being more open-minded again. So, exactly.
Yay.
And, yep. And then I do want to talk about the full moon that's going to happen on June 9th, our Gemini full moon. And so we're going to find ourselves being more receptive to expanding our relationships and expanding our views. So Mercury's in Gemini is going to help us with that. And by the time we hit the 19th and the 20th of June, Mercury and Mercury's influence are going to really help some genius energy come through. We've got another kite coming up, which is so interesting, a second kite in one reading, which is terrific. And this, again, has got to do with the fire energies, that fire trine that I talked about, inspiring us for what we love and lining up with our own truth and our own future. And again, we've got Mercury and its ability to finally figure out that truth we're talking about. So I see that June 19th and 20th with the Mercury, Saturn, the mind, figuring out its truth, being a great day on June 19th and 20th, lighting up that energy for fire and inspiration.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's pretty good. There's a lot. Let me tell you, there's just a lot going on energetically for the mind and for Venus. I can't cover every day, but I will recap that Mercury, again, is about focusing our thinking and how it can distract us and sort of pull us into our personalities and our egos. But Venus's energy on aligning with our inner and soul journey will help us find our inner path and bridge our heart and our mind and bring peace and harmony. So don't let your stubborn beliefs stop your inner harmony. And that's the way I see it, Margie. Anything to add?
Yeah, I just love how all of these, I love the timing of everything. The synchronicity of how things work and how we are given the opportunity from the planets, everything around us, to really to really shine the light on our true self. And so I feel like as you're speaking, these energies are coming in and they're just showing us another way of releasing parts of our ego and reconnecting to our true selves and our creativity and our true inner genius, right?
Right.
And so I feel like that's what that is, even though sometimes it does present a challenge because it's hard to do that at times. But it's like we're given the perfect tools from every angle when we align to ourselves, right?
Correct. Right.
And so I think it's beautiful. I think it's perfect.
Me too.
Yeah. Andrea, thank you so much. So the new moon is on May 25th, correct?
Correct.
I don't think we said that. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, I look forward to next month. And again, this is Andrea Bryant with Awaken Astrology, and you can catch her on Basmati. Yay, Andrea. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Margie.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.